if you ever had one of those days, like one of those days where anything that could have possibly gone wrong went wrong. Or maybe it's one of those days when everybody who could have possibly wanted something. And they all wanted it at exactly the same time. I mean, it's like one of those days when your phone, it won't stop ringing. And I mean, your text messages, and man, I wish we could go back when we didn't have text messages. But all of a sudden, that text message thread is just, I mean, it's like blowing up. I mean, people just will not stop. I mean, it's question after question after question. And you get one kind of thing handled, and all of a sudden, somebody asks another question and you go off in a different direction, and everybody wants something from you right now. And your day goes from, I kind of know what's going on, and all of a sudden it is just absolute, total chaos. And it's just a swarm. I mean, like it's a swarm of people, it's a swarm of information, it's a swarm of ideas, it's a swarm of tasks. It is just a swarm. And that is exactly what God does to the Egyptians with the plague of flies. It was a swarm. It's this really cool thing in the text, and it doesn't come out as much in English translation, and it's not that the English translation is bad. The English translation is really, really good, okay? But there's this one little nuance that doesn't come out in the text when you read it in the original language. And God says, literally, if you do not send my people, like you're not going to send my people and let them serve me, if you do not send my people, I will send a swarm. So he says to Pharaoh, if you don't send, I'm going to send. And so God sends this swarm. Now, we're trying to figure out what to do with that in the text and how to translate that. And so we say, well, he was going to send this swarm of flies. So let's just think for a second just about a fly. Have you ever had one of those days where you had a fly in your house, and no matter what you tried to do, you could not kill that fly? It's like it would buzz around, and I don't know what your house would look like with this. I'm just telling you the way we do it in the Smith house, and we probably do it all wrong, right? So, well, it reminds me of another story, and I can't even tell y'all that. Y'all asked me the story about what's that sticky stuff you put down one time? What's that stuff you put out, that fly paper? Boy, she's going to kill me for this. And if her brother's watching today, maybe he'll get a laugh out of that. They put one of those out at Diane's dad's house one time, and it got flies like all over it. She's listening downstairs. I'm in trouble. And he wanted to know if they could clean it off and use that thing again. Like, no. But just think about a fly. Sorry, it just popped in my head. You got a fly, and in our house, we grab the fly swatter, and then you chase it around the house, right? Like you... And you're waiting for it to land, and 9 times out of 10, what does it do? At least in my house, lands on somebody, right? You can't kill it while it's landed on somebody. So then you wait, and then you try to swat it, and then it's just like it's all over, and it's just one fly. One fly. What if it is a swarm of flies? A swarm of flies. Now, the interesting thing about this word, this swarm that comes out in Exodus, is it's not just like it's just a swarm of flies. It's a swarm. And it's probably not just flies, it's probably like any kind of insect you could possibly imagine. So it's like all of the insects swarm at one time. And so when they swarm, they're just covering everything. I mean, the word is only used, this word that we translate storm, it's only used in Exodus chapter 8 where this plague is, and it's used in 2 Psalms, but in the Psalms that it's used, it's describing this particular plague, this swarm that comes out. So it's not a word that's used very much in the Hebrew Bible, but it's just think about that, not just flies. Think about if every kind of insect you can imagine just all of a sudden swarmed, and like they're everywhere. And I don't know about y'all, but I would take all of the flies over the mosquitoes. But they're everywhere. Everywhere you look, there's just a swarm of insects. And God says, that's what I'm going to do if you don't send my people. And he didn't send the people, and that's exactly what God did. And you think, well, but why does that make that much difference in Egypt? Well, in Egypt, they had this idea about how, what kept the world stable. And what kept the world in perfect order. And I don't know that the scarab beetle was part of the swarm that came out, but most likely it was. A scarab beetle was something that they thought kind of represented the way that the world would normally work. And I don't want y'all to kind of get... I was trying to think of a really nice way to give this illustration, but there's really just not really of a nice illustration, a nice way to do this, so y'all just follow along and it'll be okay? So the Egyptians would use the scarab beetle, and the scarab beetle would roll dung across the ground and they'd make a ball out of it. Now, I know when I use words like that, I especially worry about this group up here. Do y'all know what dung is? Okay, some of them are doing like this and some of them are doing like that. So church is going to have to help me come up with a better word for that. It's what happens when you go to the bathroom, okay? So they see poop. Thank you, Charlie. Charlie said poop. I think you can use poop in church. I'm not sure. So they see the beetle poop, and they roll the beetle poop across the ground, and the beetle poop makes a little ball. And when it makes a little ball, the way the scarab beetle works, and we're going to have to go on this, but after a little while, that ball sits there, and new life comes out of that little ball. There's like little scarab beetles that are born out of that. It's that's kind of nasty, isn't it? But they would see that, and they would think, boy, that's how life works. And that scarab beetle, it's kind of like life comes out of nothing, right? And so you're watching that, and they start working that into their theology, and they start working in their panoply of God. And so this scarab beetle kind of becomes, it represents creation and renewal and the daily rebirth of the sun. And I put those up there because in the pyramid art and the drawings on the wall, they've got these pictures of these scarab beetles like that, and that little round ball. The screen's not there anymore. Sorry about that. The one on your right, that little circle above the scarab beetle, you see that? That is the sun. So the scarab beetle, each night, it would roll the sun across the sky. So the next morning, the sun would be where the sun's supposed to be, and that scarab beetle is represented as moving that sun. And so the beetle became associated with a god called Khafre, and Khafre would roll the sun across the sky so it would be at the right place the next day. So it became order and renewal. It became the way things worked. It was order instead of chaos. And it's in the temple walls, and it's on their pyramid walls where they've drawn it, and it's some of their older Egyptian writings, and in almost every generation of Egyptian writings, it's about that stability and order. And so God says, I'm going to take that thing that you attribute to order, the thing that keeps your world in order, the thing that you rely on to make sure everything works the way it's supposed to work. I'm going to take that, and I'm going to make complete chaos out of it. I'm going to make it affect your life in such a way that the only thing you want to do is just get rid of it. And that's what God does. There's this real interesting verse when you read through that. He says, that you may know that I, the Lord, am in the midst of the land. And that's a really great translation. I'm all for that. But you could also translate that verse, that you may know that I am the Lord in the midst of the land. You're going to trust in the scarab beetle, or you're going to trust in an insect, you're going to trust in the order of life that you've got configured in your head. I want you to know that's not what's God. I am God, and I'm going to do this so that you'll know. And he said, I'm also going to distinguish between my people and your people in this plague. And we think about that. We think about that chaos, right? Like, how many of y'all really like chaos? I mean, just like total chaos, because I'm not all for it. I'm probably like you. Get out my fancy little iPhone, and I push it up here, and I go through here, and I pull down, and I have a calendar. Oh, look, even told me my time of sleep, told me I had a good night's sleep last night. I don't know why I need my phone to tell me I had a good night's sleep, but that's what it tells me. So I pull it up, and I can pull up calendar. What do you think my calendar looks like? Well, it's pretty full, isn't it? Got a lot of stuff on my calendar. Got my doctor's appointments, got mom's doctor's appointments, got dad's doctor's appointments. Got where I'm supposed to be each day, got on there where I'm supposed to meet you or where I'm not supposed to meet you or something I need to do for church. And I look, man, that's a pretty full calendar. And honestly, for this group down here, I've had to start writing it down in the book because the phone's just not doing it for me anymore. But that's the way I organize my life. How many of you have got your life organized? You got a calendar somewhere? Somewhere. Maybe it's on your phone. Some of you got it hanging on the wall. Some of you got it on the refrigerator. We take those calendars and we order our lives. It's predictability and control and stability and schedules and routines. We know exactly what's supposed to happen. Every time, everything has a time and place. And we write it on there. How many of you made a list? And you got list after list after list after list. And I'll pull that up. Vicki has a list to tell you which list the list is on. Right? And so you've got all of these things going on because you're trying to organize. I only know that because it's Carmen. He's in trouble by himself. Right? But we have systems. And we just don't have it for calendars. We have it for health. Right? We got a certain medicine on a certain day, relationships. We got everything, and we can put it in these nice little boxes so it looks exactly right, and everything has a time and place. And in all of that, with all of that stability, with all of that organization, with all of that planning, we think we have things completely in control until we don't. Until we don't. And then all of a sudden what we find out is, whoops, sorry, went the wrong way. Order is not the same as security. Control is not the same as peace. And stability is not the same as trust. So I got a couple of folks who are going to come up here and help me figure this out. So y'all hang on. I'm going to switch, all right? Y'all just imagine like the guy that sat behind the curtain in the Wizard of Oz, right? So I'm just going to walk behind the curtain, and I'm going to come out as somebody else, and I'm going to come out as a guy in this skit. All right, you ready? Y'all like that? Y'all the way I did this transformation. Whew. All right? Today is going to be a good day. Everything's planned. My meetings are all set. My deadlines are clear. I've got this. I've got everything today I need to do.
Hey, quick question. Can you help me with this report really quick?
Sure, man. It's just a report. I'll help you with it real quick.
I need you in my office right now.
Right now?
Yes, it's very urgent.
Well, hang on a minute. Let me take care of him, then I'll take care of you, all right? Well, wait a minute. You're the boss. Hey, hang on a minute. Let me take care of him, then I'll take care of you because he's the boss. All right? Okay. I'm coming. Let's go.
Hey, don't forget you're supposed to pick the kids up early today.
Pick the kids up? Today?
Yeah, today.
I thought that was tomorrow.
No, today.
Today?
Yep.
All right. Okay. Yeah, I'll pick them up. Hey, I'm coming. I'll be right there.
Hey, can
All
you
right?
talk for a second? I need a vent.
Right now?
Yeah, right now. It won't take long.
All right. Well, just a minute. Hang on. Wait a second. Hang on. I'll get right to you.
Did you get my email?
Email. What email?
The one about the deadline change.
Oh, there's a deadline change?
Yeah.
Oh.
We're waiting on.
I got a deadline, but I'll get right to you.
Hey, we're waiting on you.
For what?
The meeting.
What meeting?
There's a meeting right now.
Right now, there's a meeting.
Yes.
All right, hey, well, let me get to you for.
Hey, real quick, I need a favor.
What do you need? Another one? Y'all supposed to start talking on the same thing.
I need your help like right now.
Hey, they're
right,
waiting.
I get you next. You
They're
gotta
waiting.
get this done.
I need you right now.
I really
All right,
need
okay.
you.
All right. Hold on, wait a second.
deadline
All right,
moved up.
Let me finish this.
Hey,
and
we're
then I'll-
waiting.
I'll be
No, but
there.
We cannot wait anymore.
Please listen.
We cannot
Gotta
wait.
go get it on.
Just look at it.
We can't wait.
We can't wait
Wait!
anymore.
Stop! One at a time. Except you. You're the boss. You say whatever you want. I can't do all of this. I mean, it's supposed to be like a simple day. I planned everything. I organized everything. I had everything under control, and then it feels like a swarm. There is a swarm of people. There's a swarm of tasks. There's a swarm of responsibilities. There's a swarm of questions. Oh, and the pressure. Everything. I can't look at Erin because she'll cry. Everything at once. I can't keep it up. I can't make everybody happy. I just can't hold it together. So God, I need you. I can't control the chaos. I just surrender. So y'all go off this day. Take my script with you. All right. I'm going to go behind the curtain over here and come back out. And here's a question I have for you. You had one of those days? I mean, have you had one of those days and everybody just descends on you at once? Or maybe it's not people. Maybe it's stuff. Maybe it's questions. Had one of those days you go out and you're running late and then traffic is late, then your car won't start. And then you do get the car started, but you don't have any gas, and you've got to stop and get gas, but you can't make the card work at the pump, and the pay at the pump thing's broken, and then you got to go inside to pay before you can get gas at the pump. So you go inside, and they say, how much you need? And you say, well, I was going to fill it up. And they say, well, you got to leave a card. And you're like, well, if you don't trust me to pump it first, I don't trust you to hang on to my card. You ever thought that was odd? Like, they won't let you pump gas because they're afraid you're going to drive off? So you're going to go in and leave them money in a credit card? Like they're going to give it back to you? So, like, they don't trust you and you don't trust them, so then how do you get gas, right? How's that supposed to work? And that's what it looks like. And all of a sudden, your world is just turned absolutely upside down. And the question I have for you is, if we are people of faith, how does that look when we're people of faith? How do we just stop and surrender to God? So when that swarm happens, where is God in your swarm? Where do you just stop and find just a spot of security or a spot of peace? Because when that chaos comes, it comes from a lot of places. And you're trying to figure out a source, and sometimes there's really just not a source, but sometimes when you look at your life and you start thinking where that comes from, and it's kind of interesting to me, the first place, if you just start in Exodus, where did the chaos come from? From God, right? God created the chaos. Wow. If you sit and think about that for just a second, it seems kind of like unlike God, right? In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. What was the heavens and the earth before God created them? Do you remember what the word there is used? It was empty and without form. But you know another thing we can say about the world, what it was? It was chaos, right? It was empty and without form. It was chaos. And what God does in Genesis chapter 1 is God shows up, and out of all of that chaos, He brings order. So you think sometimes God just creates chaos? Yeah, sometimes God creates chaos. And one of the reasons that God does that is because He needs us to understand we're really not in control. We have the illusion of control, but we're not really in control. Because sometimes our lives become so chaotic and we're looking for something to anchor it, and we're looking in all the wrong places. And what God needs us to do is to understand that in all the chaos, we need to anchor ourselves in Him, that ultimately He is the one in control. So when something chaotic comes along, don't all of a sudden say, well, it's not God. It might very well be God. And I know this takes a lot of discernment, and you say, Greg, you're just throwing everything out there. You're not giving us any answers at all. Well, no, I'm not. Because sometimes it's not God at all. Sometimes it's Satan. Satan's going to throw your world into such a chaos that he's trying to do everything he can to try to convince you that faith in God is really not what you think faith in God is like. So he wants to upend in your world and wants to mess it all up. And most of the times when you look at that and you see that chaos in your world, a lot of times that just comes from sin. And honestly, it comes from sin more often than we like to think so. Now, if I'll be totally honest with you about how that chaos works, usually the sin that shows up is usually mine. It's not somebody else's. Usually it starts with ours. And so if you want to look at that sin thing and scratch it off where it's got ours, because I was trying to be really nice in that and not make you feel guilty about stuff no more than I want to make myself feel guilty about stuff, just scratch that ours out and you just write mine in there. Because I don't know about your life, but I'm telling you, in my life, I've made some decisions in the past that probably weren't the best decisions. They weren't necessarily sin, but some of them could have been. And it probably created more chaos than I thought it was going to create at the time. But it's my own fault because I made the decision. I made the choice. And I know that there are probably some of you out there that are just like that. But the thing about that sin is sometimes it doesn't have anything to do with me at all. Sometimes it's somebody else's. Sometimes it's somebody else who makes a decision in the world, or they decide to do something, and the thing that they decided has this incredible effect on me, and I honestly didn't have anything to do with it. I'm just kind of along for the ride because of what's happened in life. So sometimes it's self, sometimes it's others. Man, sometimes there's just circumstances. Things just work out in a certain way, and in the way that they worked out, it's just chaos. And it really wasn't anybody's fault. They didn't plan it. It's not like they tried to do something for you just because they tried to do something, to do something against you. I remember a company that I worked for one time, and after I left the company went bankrupt, didn't have anything to do with the people that I worked with. All the people I worked with were really good people, but they showed up at office the one day, and the door was locked, and there was a chain around it, and they couldn't get in. And so they left work on one day having a job and came back on the next day and didn't have a job, and their life went to total chaos. And it wasn't anything that they did or really anything that somebody that they knew very closely did. It's something that somebody did that was they were so far up the food chain, and they didn't even know there was a problem until they showed up one day and the door was locked. Or how about natural law? Ice would never cause a problem, would it? Like this whole thing about, temperature and 32 degrees and water becomes ice and it falls out of the sky and then it becomes ice. That would never create an issue, would it? Or how about just a windstorm? There's just like this gust of wind one day, and you pull up to the church building, and nothing looks out of order. Everything looks great. I got to tell you all this story because it is just crazy. All right. Have I got time for this? Yeah. All right. So I pull up to the church office one day, and for a while, we had contemplated taking the carport off the side of the house because at the side of the house, the carport, it was in bad shape, and we were afraid it was going to fall. That's why you didn't usually park under it, right? Because it wasn't in very good shape. And so we had talked about that a couple of times, and we had batted around at a couple of elders' meetings, and I pull in. It's like right after Christmas. I've been gone all of the Christmas holidays, had some vacation time, so I worked from the house. And Diane was off 2 or 3 weeks. We just kind of hung out. Things were really great. Used my vacation time. Pulled up after vacation, pulled into the church house over there to go into my office, and guess what? Somebody took the carport down. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, I wonder who showed up over the holidays and took the carport down. And then I looked and thought, man, what a mess they left. Who in the world made such a mess? And I'm talking to Rye on the phone. Rye's driving to work, and I'm chatting with Rye in front. I said, Rye, you're not going to believe this. Somebody came over here. They took the carport down, and they have left a mess. Man, there's stuff everywhere. They even left a post up on top of the house. And I was like, who in the world would have come and done that? So, in all of my frustration, I opened the front door and I flip on the light switch. No electricity. Like, what's that about? So I go around there where somebody took the carport off the house, and guess what? The power, what do you call that thing that sits on the side of the house that the meter's plugged into? That weatherhead. That thing's blown off. I mean, it's like all crooked, and the meter for the electricity is laying down on the slab where the carport was. And I'm like, why in the world would they disconnect the electricity and not let anybody know? I get on my and I text all the elders. Anybody know who came took the carport down at the house? And I mean, you could tell, Dennis, I was frustrated, right? Dennis like, yeah, I could tell that in a text message. And I mean, y'all do know, I was telling teens this morning, 55% is body language, 38% is tonality, and 7% are the words that you use. And you only get the 7% in text messages, which is, I really don't like it. But I was so frustrated, like it came out in the 7%, like they knew. And I'm like, well, I don't know. Nobody came and took it down. Well, I come over and I thought, well, I know somebody took that down. I'm telling you, this is a true story. I come over and fire up the security system. And I was like, I'm going to look and see who pulled that thing off of there. I know it was working Sunday because I walked over there. So I looked through security footage and like, nobody shows up over there. It's like, somebody had to show up to take it down. I mean, so I walk out the back doors to walk back over to the house, and I look over in the backyard. What do you think I see? The carport. The wind, I guess, got under the carport, flipped it over the top of the house, and landed it in the backyard, and flipped the weatherhead and all that other stuff with it. And I was like, well, that's real neat. Here I am mad about somebody taking out the carport, but God took it off and set it back in the backyard, right? So now, here's my day. I show up at work, ready to get back to work, first of the year, right? Woo, here we go. Here we go. Got lots of things on my to-do list, Joshua. I'm fired up, right? Going to write some sermons, going to come up with some classes. No electricity, no computer. And I'm like, well, what do I do with that? So I come over here, and I've been working out of the fellowship room till we figure out how to get electricity back over at the house. And you think, well, what's that all about, Greg? What, natural law? You know the weird thing about that? There wasn't a branch down anywhere else. There was like, I looked around and thought, man, that must have been a big windstorm, right? No branches down, no limbs in the yard, nothing. Just one carport flipped over the top of the house for whatever reason. But natural law does that some, doesn't it? And it just creates chaos in our life, and we don't know what's going on. And we look at God and we say, God, what I want you to do is remove the chaos. But here's the reality. God's not always going to remove the chaos, because that's what God is always about. Sometimes he needs that chaos to be there. Sometimes what he needs is for us to work through that chaos with faith and end up on the other side of the chaos with incredible faith in God, knowing that we trust in the God who worked us through the chaos. Sometimes what we want is just a God who will wave his hand and he'll take away everything that causes a struggle for us so that we don't have to struggle. But what we don't realize is sometimes in the middle of the struggle is when our faith develops the most. And what God is really concerned about is not you having a problem-free life. What God is most concerned about is you developing faith in him and trusting him for your life. So God doesn't just wave his hand and move the chaos away. So where's God in the midst of your chaos? Where is he when things start to happen? Control says, I must manage everything. And I'm going to be honest with you. It's very hard for me not to live in that spot. I'm just telling you as preacher, friend, it's really hard for me not to live in I must manage everything. I want a schedule and a time, and I want it to be organized, and I want to know when it's going to happen, and I want to be the one helping to figure out how it's going to happen. How many of y'all like to be in control? Faith says God's managing everything. Even the things I can't see, even the things I can't understand, even when I don't know why things are happening the way that they're going to happen. When I get news that I don't want to get, when life doesn't go exactly the way that I want it to go, faith says, I trust a God who is firmly in control and will work in my life in a way that builds faith in him, and I can always trust in who he is and what's going to happen. And ultimately, God did that in the cross. In the beginning was chaos, and God stepped into that chaos and he brought order. Genesis chapter 1. If your life is chaos, God will step into that same chaos and he will bring order. Now, please understand, I didn't say he would take the chaos away. I said he would help you find order for it. When Jesus hung on that cross, and he looked out into the world from that cross who, to be honest, for the most part, rejected him. Even looking at those people when he says, Father, forgive them because they don't know what they're doing. Even as he taught his disciples about a world that was going to hate them and reject them, and he knew that that world was going to be full of chaos. But in all of that chaos, God says, I came to bring you peace. I came to rescue you from things that you cannot rescue yourself from. I came to forgive sin that you don't have the capability to forgive on your own. You see a world that is full of sin and struggle and chaos, and God says, through Christ, I am calling you into a different life. It's not a life that's shaped by the things of this world. It's a life that sees beyond this world. It's a life that sees what we're really created for and who we really are and what God can do for us and through us, not just in this world, but in the world to come. I asked the teens this morning in class, we're talking about how to share your faith, and I asked them a very simple question this morning. I said, when you see somebody, what do you see? When you see somebody, what do you see? And I know we look out in a crowd like this, well, we see appearances and faces and bodies, and I said, I understand that. But do you know, when I look and I see you, what I see is not just flesh and blood. I see a soul that is going to spend an eternity somewhere. I don't see somebody who is going to be here for a certain amount of time living on this earth. What I see is a soul that is eternal, that will never die. And God looks into our world and the chaos, and he says, what I want to give you is something money can't buy it. It's the security of knowing that in all of the chaos of the world that I am right there beside you, not just in this life, but in the world to come. You're mine. And if you're mine, I will take care of you. So I just ask, in all of your chaos, where's God? Where's God? If you need to find a relationship with him, if you need to repent and be baptized, if you just need a prayer. You're just sitting there this morning thinking, man, Greg, you don't know the chaos of my life. And maybe all you need is just a group of people to circle around you and pray. I was with the young professionals one night, and they said, well, sometimes what we want is not a group of people to circle around us and pray. Sometimes all we want is just to know that we can go down front and kneel down and have a prayer and just know somebody sitting out there in the pew praying with us, and we don't have to say anything to anybody. We just come up there and we kneel and we just personally talk to God to know that there's a church family who cares for us. Maybe that's what you need. Maybe you just need a quiet place, maybe just a moment this morning to pray. But if you need anything, we ask you to do that while we stand and sing.